Buongiorno amici, amiche e tutti gli altri. Io mi chiamo Micah Sommer e questo è il Micah Sommer Variety Hour. Oh, Micah Sommer Variety Hour. On today's lunchtime episode of the Micah Sommer Variety Hour, I'm going to be making an Insalata Caprese. For this salad, which is less of a salad and more of an explosion of deliciousness, we're going to need some tomatoes. These are from Blue Moon Farms right down the road in Urbana, Illinois. Fresh mozzarella, of course. This is from a cheesery in Wisconsin. And some basil. This is also local. This is from the Champaign North First Street Prosperity Garden. We need some olive oil, salt. This is probably Morton salt, but I'll tell you that the shaker is actually an heirloom. It was a wedding gift from my wife's grandmother, step-grandmother, I guess. Anyway, the basic idea of this dish is very simple. You cut up the things and then put them together and you eat them. So I'm going to do that. And along the way, I'll talk a little bit about my first introduction to caprese salad. I went on this college trip to Italy. When we were in Florence, we stayed at this hostel, the Ostello Sette Santi, which is lovely if you're ever staying in Florence. Although we met some German youths who were highly unimpressed with the hostel's offerings, but that's a story for another time. They served evening meals at around 9 p.m., which was like, dinner time. It was a fixed menu for whatever was that night, which of course you didn't complain about because it was always delicious. But the main dish was generally meat, so on the first night, I sort of raised my hand and said, "Scusa, signore," to our server gentleman, and said, "Io sono vegetariano, io non mangio carne." And the server said, "Ah, molto bene," and he took away my meat plate and gave it to the person next to me, and came back with this tomato and mozzarella thing, and I was like, "What is this? This doesn't look particularly impressive." Then I started eating it, and I was like, "This is the best thing." And so, of course, some of my companions on the trip wanted to try it, and they're like, "Wow, this is the best thing." And then suddenly, the next evening at dinner, we had everyone else saying, "Scusa, signora, io ancora sono vegetariano." I'm sorry, I'm just being a jerk. Their accents weren't actually that bad. The gist is that we had people hopping on the vegetarian train to forego the meat option in favor of this delicious caprese salad. A quick note about the name, Insalata Caprese. It was, of course, named after the famous Italian-American film director Frank Capra, who invented it during a slow day of shooting on the film Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. This knife does not work very well for this cheese. So since I got this like pearled mozzarella, it's just sort of falling apart as I slice it, which is fine. I'm just gonna break it apart like this. That's great. That's of course not even a little bit true about Frank Capra. It's called caprese because it was served to King Farouk of Egypt while he was visiting the island of Capri, and he was like, "Wow, this is so delicious, it should be famous." And then it got famous, and we needed something to call it. I'm sure before that it was just called Insalata con mozzarella e tomate, eh? I don't think I'm being offensive to Italian people here, because in my experience this is in fact how they actually talk, but if I am, someone please call me out on it. Now I have pearled the mozzarella untraditionally, arranging this tomato. If you want, you can get fancy and all decorative with it, but it's food. It's supposed to be eaten, not looked at, so yeah. And then we're going to take this Prosperity Garden basil, and we're just gonna put it on there. Sure, that looks great. A little bit of olive oil. Bertolli, 2 L's. I don't even know anything. That looks like way too much, but that's okay. Probably gonna be too much salt too. I'll do it in my hand first. Okay, looks great. All on that one tomato. Ba, 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 da, ba. So now we're going to eat this, and it's going to be great. The last time I've actually had an Insalata Caprese is the last time that this mozzarella was on sale. We actually had Caprese at our wedding just a few weeks ago, but it all got eaten before I got to it. So here I am having Caprese for the first time in a while. And of course, it is unapologetically and irrevocably delicious. So I'm going to continue eating it and stop talking. Grazie mille for watching this episode of the Micah Sommer Variety Hour, and please tune in next time while I will be doing, I'm sure, something completely different. So as you can see, I most assuredly did put in too much olive oil, so I'm just trying to let it sort of trickle down to one end of the plate where it's mixing with the tomato juice there into what looks like something out of an Andres Serrano photograph.